which is a platform that provides a pre-configured lab environment within the AWS Management Console. So the AWS Management Console, just a brief statement about it is a web interface that is provided by AWS that allows users to manage various cloud services. So that is how you get to configure, to access, and to manage your resources, to provision and manage your resources in the cloud. So without much ado, we will be commencing the workshop. So let me just share my screen. Let me switch to just a minute. Okay, so this is the WizLab platform coming up in a few. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we're able to see your screen.
Thank you. So this is the WizLab platform. This is the dashboard. And as you can see, it has various courses and hands-on labs. So in this case, we will be using the foundational level, which is the certified cloud practitioner level. As you can see, there are so many resources. So we'll be using one of the labs. So let us open that. So when we open, we are interested with the labs. We are interested in the lab. And in this case, we want to create a virtual private cloud. So virtual private cloud from scratch. So this is the one that we are going to be using. This is the lab. So let me start it. Great. So I'll just take you through the lab details as indicated here. So in this lab, we'll be provided with a guide for creating a virtual private cloud. And we will have to create this virtual private cloud manually and configure it manually. So the lab will cover the creation of a virtual private cloud, configuration of public and private subnets, and including also setting up the route tables. The approximate time for this lab is 30 minutes. So I think we will be working through that. We've been also be given a default region for using in this lab. So again, very quickly, we are given an introduction of what a private cloud is. So it says a virtual private cloud is a private cloud which is a custom defined virtual network within the AWS cloud. I will skip that. So we do have a note here to observe. So basic understanding before we start building. So when you create an Amazon AWS virtual private cloud, you specify a set of IP addresses in the form of a classless interdomain routing. It's called a CIDR block of this sort. So it's something like, example is this is an example of an IP address. So you can assign a single CIDR block to a VPC, and then the allowed block size is between a 28 net mask and a 16 net mask. In other words, the VPC can only contain from 16 to 65,536 IP addresses. So WizLab has provided us with the architecture diagram for our virtual private cloud. So I'll quickly take you through these. So we are the users here. Once you log into the AWS Management Console as a user, you are led to the AWS cloud. So this is the orange. Is it orange? Yes, I guess this is orange. So the one you see outside here is the AWS cloud itself. And then the blue demarcation, the blue card here, it will now be our virtual private cloud. So as you can see here, we do have our virtual private cloud will be exposed to the internet using a feature called an internet gateway. So there's a router there. We do have public and private route tables for our resources. And then we do have something here called a network access control list, NACL, that is used to serves like a firewall to control access to the VPC. And then we do have two cards here. So this one stands for availability zones. So availability zones means distinguished AWS data centers in a given AWS region. It really helps to ensure high availability of our resources in case one of the region or in case there's a problem with one of the regions, then your services will not be interrupted because it will automatically be served from a alternate or a secondary rather availability zone. Now, what are the task details here? So we will be signing into the AWS Management Console. We will see, I will show you how the AWS Management Console looks like. We will then create a VPC without using the VPC wizard. So that means we'll be setting up everything from scratch manually. And then we will be creating an internet gateway, creating private and public subnets for the virtual private cloud. We will configure and create our route tables. Now, let us go ahead and start the lab now. So here we will just click this. So let us give it time as we create the cloud environment and all the resources that are required. Good, so our lab has been created. So let us open the console. Let us go ahead and open the console. So I'll click it to open in another tab. So our the AWS Management Console is opening up. We will need to sign in. Yes, so here, so okay, I think we will have to, let us copy the credentials that will allow us to access this, the lab. So let me copy the configurations here, just a minute. We do have a password here also. So it's signing us in. We are now being redirected to the AWS. This is the AWS Management Console that allows us to manage AWS resources. Good. So we will be using the guide provided by the lab here, step by step. So we've signed in. So this one is already done. So there's a note here in step 3 that once you are signed into the AWS Management Console, we need to make the default AWS region as US East North Virginia. So let us check if that is the case. As you can see here, so you can always check here. This is because the AWS is offered globally, so there are different regions, but this is the region specified for this particular lab because this is where our resources are hosted. So US East, North Virginia. Good. Now, let us go ahead now to the task of creating a VPC. So we've ensured that we are in the US East US East region. Like services. So let's do that. So these are the services. So when you click this tab here, it will show you all the services that are offered by AWS. As you can see, there are so many services. There are so many services. So virtual VPC is a service offered under networking and content delivery. So we click there. Once you click the content and network delivery, you'll see a number of services under that category, and you can see the VPC down here. So let us just go ahead and click VPC. So here we are. As you can see, this is how the dashboard for the virtual private cloud dashboard looks like. We have a tab here of all the aspects of that will help us in configuring and setting up our VPC. So you can see there are subnets, we have route tables, internet gateways, etc. Now let us see if there are any available VPCs here by clicking on your VPCs. Yes, and indeed we do have a VPC here that was already created for this particular lab. Now we are going to create a new VPC. So what we'll do is we click on this button, orange button up here of create a VPC. So when you click that, it brings you to this page. So you can choose to, so when you're creating a VPC, you can create VPC only and, or a VPC and other more resources. So in our case, we only need to create a VPC. We will have to give our VPC a name, right? So let us go ahead and give our VPC a name. So we can call it Able State VPC. Able State VPC. Now we need to also configure the IPv4 CIDR block. So as we were told earlier that it only AWS only permits for VPCs, you only permit IP address range from the subnet mask from between 16 and 28. So let's see which. So we've created the VPCs, we've entered the name. Now we are given here that we need to give it a subnet, a CIDR block of 10.0.0.0/16. So we'll do that. Let us give it that 0.0.0.0/16. We will not use IPv version 6 here. We will leave the tenancy on default. And then we just go ahead and hit the create VPC button here, orange button below here. And we should be, as you can see here, we get a message that you have successfully created a VPC. So we do have details for our VPC here. It has been assigned a unique ID, an identifier. Sorry, is someone? Sorry. I think someone is unmuted. So let us go ahead. So we do have a virtual VPC identifier. So we are told the state of our VPC is that it is available, and it's operating the IPv4 CIDR block IP is that, the one that we configured. So that is it so far. So we've been able to create that, and then now we've created the VPC successfully. So which means we are done with that. So once the VPC is created, it will appear with details below. So let So let us click on our VPCs and see if it has been added to the list of VPCs. Yes. So we do have Able State VPC here, as you can see, with a unique ID, and it is available. Great. Now let us move on to configuring now our created VPC. So the next task is to create the subnets. So as we remember, we say that subnets are a way that allows you to further divide subnet, your VPC into sections, so that you can have more control on how on the network, right? So we will be creating, in this particular lab, we will be creating one public subnet and a private subnet in the US East 1A and US East 1B availability zones, respectively. So let us for the public subnet, we will have to click on the subnets from the left menu and then create subnet button. So that is what we will do. And then we will give it, we will have to choose. So there are a few things we'll be configuring. That is, we'll be selecting the VPC ID, the name that we've given for the VPC. So for our case, it will be able state VPC. We'll give our subnet a name, and then we will select an availability zone. We will select a range, CIDR block range for IPv4, and then we'll create the VPC. So that is what we'll be doing. So let us go to the public subnets. So how do we access the subnets? Right here on the left navigation dashboard, on the VPC dashboard, we can see subnet here, right? So when you click that, there are already pre-existing subnets that were already created, but we want to create a new one. So there's an orange button here for creating a subnet. Let us do that. So let's create a subnet. Now, when we click that, we are told we need to create subnets in which virtual private cloud. So the VPC that is we are creating the subnets for, like we have to pick. So this is our VPC that we had created earlier, the able state VPC. So we'll have to click that. And when you click that, it opens associated CIDR blocks. So let us go ahead and create and configure the settings for our subnets. So we can give our subnet another name. Let's say able state subnet. Let us give it a name like able state subnet. Able state subnet. Great. We do have to select an availability zone. So in this case, we are told that the subnet availability zone is US East 1A. US East 1A. So we do that. We can create a US East 1A. So this is, you can see there are a number of availability zones. So this is the one that we are going to select, US East 1A, North Virginia. And then for the IPv4 CIDR block, we are told to select version 20, subnet 10.10.0.1.02. So let me just copy this. This is what we are going to use. Let us paste it here. Now, so as you can see, it has 256 IP addresses, right? Great. Now, we don't need tags for this particular workshop. So let us just go ahead and create the subnet. So when we hit create, so our subnet is being created, and we are told here you have successfully, we get a success message, you have successfully created one subnet. You can see it has appeared here. It has a unique ID, and when you check this box here, you can read further details for our subnet. As you can see here, down below here, we are given details for our subnet. We have a subnet ID, and then we do have a subnet Amazon resource name. So it's how our subnet will be identified in the AWS cloud. It's given a unique name. Yes. So, and you can also see everything that we pre-configured earlier, the availability zone. So we are done with creating a public subnet. Now let us go ahead and move to the second part for the private subnet. So we'll do the same thing. We will create another public subnet. So we'll just do the same thing that we did earlier. So we just go ahead and create subnet again. We select our VPC here, and then we configure it. So we can name this one able state private subnet, able state private subnet. Good. So we have able state private subnet. So in this case, for the second one, we will have to choose the second availability zone. So the other one was US East 1A. So I guess this is going to be US East 1B. Yes, it's going to be US East 1B. So let us select a US East 1B. It's right here. Great. And then Let us configure the CIDR block. So let us choose a different CIDR block. So we've been given a range here. Let us copy this range. Yes, and then let's paste it. And hit the create subnet right there. So our subnet is being created. So you've successfully created another subnet, able state private subnet. So let's see, how many subnets do we have now? So as you can see, our subnet has been added to the list of subnets here. We do have our private, and this is going to be our public subnet, right? Great. Okay, so let us move ahead and move to the next step of the lab. So the next step is to create and configure the internet gateway. So in this task, we are going to create an internet gateway. So an internet gateway basically is a way of allowing internet over, it's a way that our virtual private cloud will have access to the internet, right? So we will click on the internet gateways and then create an internet gateway button. So we'll find it here in the VPC dashboard. So we have internet gateways. So we click here, internet gateways. And then as usual, there's an orange button here for creating an internet gateway. So we click on it. So let's give it a name like Able State Internet Gateway. Yes, let's give it a name, Able State Internet Gateway. Able State Internet Gateway. So we've given it that name there, and then we will straight away, we don't need to add tags in this particular case. So we'll just click on Create Internet Gateway. And then we have created an internet gateway, Able State Internet Gateway, that we will be attaching to a VPC, okay? So let us select and then attach it to a VPC, okay? So this is our internet gateway, and actions. We want to attach our internet gateway to the VPC that we created earlier, okay? So we click on attach, and then we select a VPC, Able State VPC. So now we've created an internet gateway. So let us click this. After selecting that, we just click on attach internet gateway. Good. So we get a success message that the internet gateway has successfully been attached to that VPC. Great, great, great. So far so good. I hope I'm not leaving anyone behind. So let us move on to the task of creating now the route tables. So we'll be creating route tables and associating them to their respective subnets. So let us go to the route tables. So we'll have to create route tables for both our public and private IPs, right? Yes, so let us go ahead and create a route table. So we just come back here to the VPC dashboard. You will find route tables here. So when you click route table, we already see that there's a route table 1 that was already pre-existing here. So it was already created for this particular lab, but we now want to create one for 2. So we'll start with the public route table. So let us call this, what can we call this now? Able State public route table. So let's call it Able State public route table. Yes. And then we need to associate it with a VPC. So we'll select the VPC, this one, VPC, Able State VPC. Yes. We don't need tags again in this case. So we'll just hit create route table. And a route table will be created. So here are the details for that route table. As usual, it will be given an ID. And then also it will be associated with this particular VPC of Able State. We will do the same for that was our public. That is a route table for public, Able State public route table. Let us create another route table for the private one, right? So we will just go ahead and repeat. So we'll go back here to route table, create another. So we can see here our public route table has been added to the list, right? And then now we are going to create another one. So let us call this able state private. Private route table. Able state private route table. We will still be associating it with the able state VPC. And then we go ahead and create the route table. And it's a success. We have a route table. Private route table was created successfully, and those are the details for our route table. Like the other one, let us see. It has been added. Yes, it has been added. So we do have a public and private route tables for our VPC. Now, we want to associate the subnets that we've created to the route tables. So what do we do? So we will have to select the public route table and go to subnet association tab. So we'll have to select the public route table in our case. So this is the able state public route table, like that. So we check the box. And then we click on action. So we'll start with the public, right? Yes, we'll start with the public route table. So we want to associate the public route tables to the subnet. So what we do is we have click on actions, and then we go to we edit the route table. So what we'll do is, after checking, we go there and then edit subnets association, as you can see here. So once you click there, we want to select the one. So in this case, we want to start with the public subnet. So this one was our public, and then we can just click save association. Okay. So we've associated, so we've successfully updated the subnet association for the public route table. We will do the same for the private one. So we'll do the same for the private one. So we'll just clear the public route table here, click action and edit the subnet association, and then check the one for private, in this case here, able state private subnet, and then we want to save up association like that. Good. So we've successfully updated that. Now let us go ahead and see the remaining stages of our lab. So the next stage is we've done that for the private route tables. So make sure not to associate. So of course we've not done that. So in the public route table, add a route to allow internet traffic to the VPC. So we will have to select the public route table and then go to the routes tab and then click on edit routes on the next page and click on add route. So let us just do this step by step. So the first step is to select our public route table. So here, let us check this one. So we are dealing with the public, so the able state public route table, as you can see. So once we check it here, we want to do what? We want to go to the routes tab, click on edit routes. So you want to go to the routes tab. So the routes tab is down here, down below here. Let me expand this a little bit. Yes, so this is the routes tab. You can see here there's a button called edit routes. So we just click on that, and then we are given instructions on how to add. So we want to add another another route here. So there's one existing here. So we want to add a route. So you just click add route, and then we want to specify a few things. So we are given an instructions on things to specify here. So on the destination, we will enter this. So the destination is this. So we will select, actually say it's there, and then for the target, we'll select internet gateway from the drop down menu to select the internet gateway. So we had already created an internet gateway for our VPC. So that is the one that we want to associate with. So here. So under that, we will have to select the internet gateway. So we already created able state internet gateway, and that is it. And then we can save the changes. So we do have the internet gateway for VPC. So we are, and then we have updated that. So we've done that for the public route table. And then we've saved it. So a recap of what we've done is we've successfully created a virtual private cloud here. We've been able to manually configure the subnets. So we've divided our VPC into sections, networking sections, what we are calling subnets. We have exposed our VPC to the internet by creating an internet gateway. And then we have associated the route tables for each, for our public and private IP addresses. Now, so I think that will be it actually. So you will validate. So once the lab steps are completed, please click on the validation button on the left side panel. So we do have a validation button here. So let's see if so we wanted in this lab, we needed to create an Amazon custom VPC. So we created an Amazon internet gateway. We created 2 custom VPC subnets. We created Amazon public route tables custom. We also created a custom private route table. So we've done all of those steps in our case, and that is it. So when you click now your VPC here, when you come back to your VPC and select it like that, let me expand this. You can see that every other step that we, all the steps that we did will now be reflecting here on this VPC. So as you can see, we do have, it has a unique ID. We can come here. It will tell you that we have 2 subnets in the USA 1A region and USA 1B region that are associated with 2 route tables, the able state public route table and private route table. You want to look at the CIDR blocks configuration for our VPC. It's here. So we have associated CIDR blocks for that. So we've not done we've not added any tags or we've not done any integrations for our VPC. So those are not relevant for this particular case. And that is it. That is basically how you can create a virtual private cloud. Now, inside this private cloud, you can now host all your resources. You can host all your resources. You can have an instance of a server running here. You can host your website there. So that is it. That is it. So quickly, we've been able to set up a custom VPC. So let me just mention that you can experiment with this in your own free time by creating an AWS account. So you can go and create an AWS account. They offer free tier. So with free tier, you can actually experiment and practice these skills. So this is you can come here and access the AWS management console and experiment with many other services. As you can see, there are so many services as we mentioned. So you can actually experiment with that and get the practical exposure. So that is it from my end. Thank you.